Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Ask BQ on Bloomberg Quint Live, and I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Well, this, as you know, is the show that gets you answers to all your equity-related queries, and you can send them in to us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp. You can also call us on 022-454-04141. Alternatively, you can mail us on askbq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the AskBQ hashtag.
All right, but before we get to the individual queries on the show, let's take a look as to what's happening with the markets right now. It's the penultimate day of the August series. Tomorrow is the expiry, and markets are actually flat, and as flat as they can be, at least for the benchmark indices. Nifty is down almost 8 points, but still comfortably trading above the mark of 11,700. Bank Nifty in the positive territory. Sensex not doing too much, but looks like broader markets have been outperforming right from the word go in the morning today. So you've got the mid-cap index up 0.6%, pardon me, and the small-cap index also sitting with gains of nearly 25 points. Let's just pull up the advanced decline ratio, the market breadth. Let's check of the entire listed universe on NSE, and the gap which was there, that's narrowing now between the advances and the declines, but still there are more advances currently as opposed to the declines. In terms of Nifty contributors, pull up that list. That's going to tell you which are the stocks that are capping the moves on the upside. So it is dominated, at least the first two stocks are dominated by the heavyweights. HDFC Bank dragging it lower by 9 points. Infosys is also trading in the red territory. And on the gaining side, the list is once again dominated by your banking stocks. So State Bank, ICICI, Yes Bank, Axis Bank, all of them are seeing some marginal gains in today's trade. But the day belongs to the metals pack, which is shining in today's session, and one because of JSW Steel, which will be included in Nifty from September. So 7% higher for that stock, and also stocks like Jindal Steel and Power, Nalco, where HSBC has initiated a buy rating with a target price of 90. Remember, for the August series, Nalco has done pretty well. It's up nearly 22 to 23%, and also Steel Authority up in trade with gains of 2%. From the broader markets, couple of more gainers. You've got Tasty Bite, that's gone up on very high volumes in today's trade, 14% higher for this one, and also something like BHEL. This one has seen traction in fact throughout this week, up 5% in trade. Century Textile, one of the F&O gainers for the day, sitting with gains of nearly 4%. On the losing side, Sadbhav Engineering, it's had a sharp fall of 8%, touching 52-week low. Indiabulls Ventures is down 5%, and also Interglobe Aviation, which is Indigo, is seeing some selling pressure today. That's trading below the mark of 1,000 actually right now, 981. But net, nothing major has happened so far, considering the week has, so far been pretty good for the markets.
Absolutely. Taking a bit of a breather today, I would think, after all the kind of buying that we saw and the movement that we saw on the upside, testing fresh record highs every day. All right, let's get our experts of the day in. We've got Amar Singh of Angel Broking and Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services, who will join us in just a short while. So thanks so much, Amar, as of now, for joining us on the show. I'm going to start with a short-term query, if I can get one. I'll take the first question on the show, in fact, from Shubham Kumawat. He's asking if it's a good time to enter InfiBeam. Let's pull up the chart and see what it's trading right now. InfiBeam is currently at 235. Let's also pull up the year-to-date chart to have a look and see how it is done in the year-to-date period as compared to some of its peers. So far this year, it's up about 67%, which is actually contrary to a lot of other stocks, so it's outperformed. The question specifically by Shubham is whether or not you can expect a correction soon. Amar, on the charts, InfiBeam looks pretty good, I would think, but is it due for a correction?
I would say that looking at InfiBeam, this is one of the stock that has really skyrocketed from almost 150 levels, which we are seeing since July, to currently around 235 levels. So the rally has been very steep, and the rally also has been very fast. So I would say that, and at current levels, I would definitely not advise anyone to go long, because it seems to be in extremely overheated territory. But in spite of that, the overall trend remains positive. So what it effectively means is that any pullback in the stock towards 220 levels, that can be used as a buying opportunity, with a stop loss below 208 and a target of 240 on the upside, but not at the current levels, I would recommend.
Okay, don't buy Infibeam at current levels. The stock in the last 3 months, however, is up almost 40% in trade. And I guess we've got our other guest, Gaurang Shah, who's joined us. And Gaurang, good afternoon. First of all, I'm going to bombard you with a list of stocks because my next query is coming in from Ankit Bhattacharjee from YouTube. He's planning to invest, Gaurang, in a couple of stocks from the likes of Havells, Wrights, Indiabulls Ventures, Tata Metallics and Bandhan. He has a time horizon of almost 3 to 5 years, and he wants to know if right now is the correct time to make an entry in all of these stocks. I'll repeat the names again. Gaurang: Havells, Wrights, Indiabulls Ventures, Tata Metallics, and the most expensive bank, Bandhan Bank.
Thank you for that, Navneet, and good afternoon to all of you all. You know, many times I have mentioned this on your show that investors, possibly wait in vain, and they waste the time and try to time the market and price the level of the stock that they want to buy. And who has been such a great person who has been able to time the market and get the right price? And effectively, more importantly, Navneet, when somebody asks me, what is the right time and right price? So that person is trying to ask me that after I buy the stock, the market should not go down, nor should the stock price go down. That's not possible. I mean, it's useless to, wait in vain like this. If you are convinced in terms of fundamentals and if you are having time by your side, amongst the list that you mentioned, I would say Havells India, Bandhan Bank and Tata Metallic. These are the three names that I would advise to get invested in. Minus others because we don't have a coverage, and in my view, if you ask me for an alternative investment, then metals pack has rebounded quite well after some price correction and international prices moving up. So Vedanta, Hindalco and Tata Steel, you can pick either one of these three names or all the three names.
All right. In fact, additional advice that Gaurang can give you there. So hopefully, Ankit, that helps you with your investments for the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, let's take a short-term query. Subhash has got a question on a Camlin Fine. Let's pull up the chart and see what it's trading right now. Subhash bought at 85 levels and he intends to hold it for about 6 months. He's asking if this is a good level to average. It's down about 17% in trade today. Amar, what is the advice here for somebody who's invested at around 85 levels? Is this a good level to average?
I would say no, because if you look at the stock on 5th of January, the stock was trading around 150, and currently it's trading around 60 levels or so. So clearly the stock has corrected sharply, and today has been an extremely sharp correction. So I would say that, and looking at the trend remains definitely negative, and if he were to invest from a long-term perspective also, I would not suggest him to buy at these levels. And from a short-term perspective, yes, I would say that he should stay away from the stock till we see some consolidation in the stock, because the stock has fallen like a rock. If you look at it for the last almost 6-8 months, it has been continuously on the decline. So I would say definitely not average at these levels.
Okay, but he should hold on, is your advice?
See, if he's bought at 80 levels, I would say at least today is a very sharp fall in the stock, so he should watch out for today's low, because at current levels, I would say that the stock has got some support around 55, 56 levels. So if that level is breached, then the stock could trade lower. Otherwise, he can hold on to his position. The stop loss below 55.
It's hit its 52-week low right now. It's at 59.5 rupees. Yeah,
in fact, Alex, I was just checking. It's fallen in very high volumes. In fact, in today's session, almost over 40 lakh shares have been traded for this one on NSE, vis-a-vis just about, I guess, 6 which were traded in yesterday's trade. So watch out for Camlin. The next question comes in on Facebook from Omkar Nibalkar. He wants a fundamental view on a stock called Natco Pharma. Gaurang, going to come to you. What's the fundamental view if you have coverage on something like Natco Pharma, or else which is your top pick in the pharma pack?
So nowadays, yes, we do have a coverage on Natco Pharma, and it's one of the credible names in terms of the dark clouds, if you will, in form of negative news flows that are an overhang on the Indian pharma sector. But slowly and steadily, we've seen news by news company specific resolutions coming through, and that only encourages us in terms of our commitment and conviction and confidence in the Indian pharma sector. So if you have time horizon of maybe about 18 to 24 months plus, I think at current levels, your risk reward is also extremely favorable, and possibly you could look for targets of in excess of 960.
All right, we've got a question, one more for you, Gaurang. This one from Akira Vinod. The question is on Dixon Technologies, which has been buzzing, remember, in the last few sessions. Even if you pull up the last 3 days, it's up about 13.5%, a little over that. In fact, if you pull up the week, so it's up about over 16.5%. Gaurang, the question is this a sound investment for a 2-year time horizon?
So I think firstly a disclosure, Alex, we had subscribe recommendation for the IPO. It's a recently listed company. Well, for the 2-year time horizon, I would say it's a candidate that you should definitely invest in. But the only request is that don't put all your money at one time. Markets are going to witness a lot of choppiness and volatility on fallback of domestic events in form of various state elections and a general election. So that's going to be a great opportunity to look forward to in terms of adding to stocks like Dixon Technologies. So start at current levels. Don't deploy all your funds or investment at one time. In parts, go on adding to it.
So would you suggest to wait for correction, or one can look at SIP? Because as you rightly mentioned in the beginning, it becomes very difficult to time this market, and considering now there's so many elections, especially the state elections coming up, is SIP a better route, or just wait for correction to put your money?
No, I've never been an advocate of waiting in the market. If you are convinced, if you understand the company that you want to invest, I think you should take the plunge rather than waiting in vain. So at current levels, if you ask me, Navneet, I would advise the investor to put in at least 25 to 30%, and maybe a 3-4% correction should be a great opportunity to add to the stock.
Okay, that's the view coming in on Dixon Technologies. Let's quickly move on and take Ram Hegde's query on Asian Paints. Pull up that counter. It's coming on Facebook. He's asking why there is no movement in the stock. Okay, it's right now at day's low with cuts of almost 10 to 11 rupees. And also, he wants a specific target for the September series. So, Amar, if I could come to you, how are the charts of Asian Paints looking? There is some bit of weakness that has crept in the last 1 hour of trade. What sort of target one should watch out in towards the end of the September series?
Yeah, looking at Asian Paints, what we are seeing is that post its high on 25th July of 1490, the stock has corrected and currently is around 1396. So technically speaking, I would say the short-term trend for the stock is completely flat. That's the reason we are seeing this consolidation, and also on the daily charts, we are seeing the indicators clearly displaying that there is some negative bias to the stock. So the stock is unlikely to trade above the high which it had made, that 1490. But on the downside also, it has got extremely strong support coming around 1350, 1360 level. So the stock is likely to go in some consolidation. However, the long-term trend for the stock still remains positive. So any correction in the stock towards 1350, 1360, that can be a good level to enter this stock.
All right, we've got what I think is quite an insightful question from, well, Tech Freaks. I do not know what your name is, but you're asking which sectors are likely to benefit on the falling rupee. I think what you mean is on the weakness of the rupee that has been witnessed so far this year. In fact, it's one of the worst Asian performers gone on. I'm curious as well, when you look at companies that are export-oriented and you consider the fact that they all have hedging strategies, how do you then read a depreciation in the currency and the kind of windfall gains that they could potentially have as set off against the hedging strategies that they have in place?
So firstly, I think the falling rupee or the depreciating rupee against the dollar would definitely benefit export-oriented sectors like IT, pharma, gems and jewelry, and likewise. And like you rightly mentioned, Alex, most of the companies in IT and pharma hedge their dollar income position because they don't want to face uneven, unforeseen eventualities in terms of huge fluctuation both currencies. So I would say that yes, the tailwind of rupee depreciating against the dollar has a positive impact of some basis point on the EBITDA level as well as net profit level. So possibly look at primarily two sectors. One is IT, second one is pharma. But rupee depreciation is not the only barometer or thumb rule that we look at in terms of fundamental coverage. It is one of the multiple parameters that we have listed down in terms of our coverage on the fundamental side. So you need to be careful about that.
Okay, rupee depreciation clearly creating some bit of tailwind for exporters like pharma companies and also IT. And let's not forget, a couple of the paper companies have also started to go up in the last few sessions because of that. Let's move on and take some more queries. And I think we've got a caller from Dubai. S. Girish calls us. Hi, Girish. Thanks a lot for calling us all the way from Dubai. Tell us what's your query on.
First of all, I have to thank you, ma'am. And I'm a little nervous also that I got a chance to talk on the phone with you guys. It's highly appreciated the work you are doing and giving your great efforts to make some money for the investor and give a two guidelines.
Girish, thanks a lot for acknowledging our work here at Bloomberg Quinn. We appreciate that you've been watching our shows. Tell us what's your query on.
My query on JSW Steel, I have 300 shares at the rate of 293. So shall I book the profit or I hold for the long?
What's your time horizon, Girish? For how long can you look to hold on?
Up to 1 year, no issues.
Up to 1 year. Okay. I'll take your query to Gaurang then. Gaurang, he's holding 300 shares at a price of 293. He's sitting on good amount of money. We've seen JSW Steel trading at all-time high levels in today's session. What would you advise him to do? Should he book out, buy some other stock with that money, or he should just stay put since he is willing to stay put for the next 1 year?
So, Navneet, we remain extremely positive on JSW Steel, and he's willing to give another year. I think the more time he gives, the better it is. Point number one is that JSW Steel has a very decent capacity in place. Stressed assets which are referred to NCLT and thereafter to IBC are seeing resolutions come faster and sooner rather than later. There is a possibility of a lot of more companies getting referred from the metal pack to the NCLT and IBC. And bidders like JSW Steel, Tata Steel and likewise have a niche advantage in terms of their capability, capacity, experience. And whenever you get a ready-made capacity, it is always beneficial because to set up a new capacity, it takes anything between 5 to 8 years. So you have time by your side, Girish. Stay invested in JSW Steel. I would request to extend the time horizon to maybe about 18 to 24 months. And maybe closer to about 465 or 480, you can possibly revisit your investment in JSW Steel because that's the target that we have set aside.
Okay, Aditya Nair has got a question on Indiabulls real estate. Let's pull up the chart and see what it's trading. He's bought at levels of 205. He's bought as many as 150 shares. He's asking whether it makes sense to average at current levels. As you can see, the stock is buzzing in trade today. It's up about 6%. Amar, I'll come to you. What are you looking at with regard to the charts and where do you see it going? Is this a good level to enter with regard to averaging?
Yeah, I would say Indiabulls real estate clearly has formed a bottom and it has taken very strong support around 140 odd levels. So, and technically, if you look at this particular stock, the long-term charts are clearly showing that this is a very strong support zone, and also on the intermediate term trend, we are seeing that the stock has bottomed out, and on the daily charts also there is bullish divergence. So he can definitely add on to his position. The level to watch out on the upside is the first level is around 158, 160, because that was a high from where the stock had corrected. Taking that out, then we could see the stock rallying towards 175, 180 levels.
Okay, that's the view on Indiabulls. In the last 1 year, I think the stock's corrected nearly 12% in trade. Okay, moving on, going to take Puneet Nanda's query. He wanted to know for the next 1 year, actually, if Gaurang can provide us with the best mid-cap pick. Gaurang, I know you'll have more than one, but Puneet wants to know if you could tell just one stock which he can buy in the mid-cap arena for the next 1 year.
So among the FMCG space, Marico would be the name that I would suggest from a long-term point of view, Navneet.
Okay, all right. crisp answer there. Marico is the one stock. I'm sure if you press Gaurang, he's going to give you more stocks, guys. So you plan your questions accordingly. Anyway, I'm going to take the next one. Gaurang, just checking with you. Do you have a view on Chamanlal Setia Exports by any chance?
Well, to be very honest, I didn't even know that such a company is listed. So I'm sorry.
It's a rice company is what Navneet says. Okay, I'm going to go to Amar. Amar, we've got an investor, Raj Singh, who's bought 1,500 shares of Chamanlal Setia Exports at 110. He's got a 3-year view. It seems he is making losses. So yeah, actually not too much. He's bought at 110 and the stock is currently at 106. So I don't really know what he means by averaging because it's not significantly below his buy price. But what should his strategy be?
Yeah, actually, I don't track this stock and I'm unable to find it to really give a view on this stock. So I don't think I'll be able to.
All right. So we'll put that on the back burner and we'll come back to you on that, Raj. Meanwhile, we'll take another query perhaps. Or let's see if I can find something right now. Okay, Anand Mishra has just sent a message to us. He's holding Rallis India, GSFC and Gokaldas Export. And all of them he's incurring a certain amount of losses. He seems to have bought at the peak is what he says. He's asking whether he should hold or put money elsewhere. Gaurang, just coming in here, you've already suggested Marico is a good name to consider. I'm just going to read out the list that he has invested in. There's Rallis India, there's GSFC and Gokaldas Export. Do you think that he should hold on to any of these? And if he needs to shift, where should he go?
So Rallis India and GSFC continue to hold on, and if you got invested at higher levels, and if you're seeing a 5 to 10% correction, I think it's time to even average. We're quite convinced in both these names, Rallis India and GSFC, that you will see meaningful turnaround happening. The last one, that is Gokuldas Export, if I'm not mistaken, Alex, take your money out. I would advise you to move your money into either Federal Bank or Finance and Holding or an Ashok Leyland, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on and take some more queries. Marimutu Murugan on Facebook writes to us. He wants a short-term view or rather an entry point for Z Entertainment. Let's just pull up that stock and check where that's trading currently. And Amar, if I could come to you, 506 is the level. Is this the right time for somebody to enter into the stock? Also tell us on the charts if one should look to buy also at current levels or just avoid this stock.
I would say that looking at the way Z Entertainment has corrected from almost 620 levels and currently it's around 500 levels, the trend still remains bearish. So what it effectively means is that any pullback will be used as a profit booking and as a shorting opportunity. And also on the upside, we are seeing very strong resistance zone for the stock in the 530, 550 zone. So the stock is likely to consolidate. However, on the extremely long-term charts, we are seeing that this stock has got some strong support around these levels. So I would say that it's not a good time to buy this stock and the stock is likely to consolidate. The levels to watch out on the downside is around 490, 500. It's close to that level. So that's the reason it's finding support. There is some bullish divergence on the chart. So clearly reflecting that this stock is going to trade sideways. If 490 is breached on the downside, then we could see the stock correct significantly towards 460 levels.
All right, Gaurang, we've got an either-or question for you. Ananta Venkata Krishnan is asking on Facebook. He's named two stocks. One is a superstar, L&T Infotech, and the other one is NIIT Tech. L&T Infotech, remember, so far this year has gained over 60%. It's currently trading at 1,800 or thereabouts with cuts of just under 2.5% in today's session. And you have also NIIT. Let's pull up NIIT and see what it's trading. It's currently around 94 levels, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's just about flat in trade today. It's corrected about 9% so far this year. Gaurang, between the two, would you recommend one of them, or you can also go with both?
So L&T Infotech has actually multiplied 2.5x from the listing price. I mean, if my memory serves me right, it was at I think 650 or 750.
Yes.
So I mean, it's a blind guess, honestly speaking, of the two. From NIIT to L&T Technologies or Infotech, I would suggest look at NIT Technologies Infotech, and instead of NIT, I think you could possibly look at something like a Science Limited, because Science has not seen the kind of run-up that we've seen in other mid-cap IT stocks. So my advice would be to pick either of these or all the three names.
Science, in fact, 12-month gain of over 35%.
Okay, let's move on and take more queries. Pull up the stock of BHEL. Remember, the counter has been active. Last Friday, it was up 8%. Today also, we're seeing gains of almost 5% coming about. Swaroop Chauhan writes to us on YouTube. Well, there is a meeting, that's the annual general meeting on September 19th, where there's news that the company will be looking to pass a resolution to consider a share buyback. So, Gaurang, I'm going to come to you. Swaroop wants to know, on back of that news, is it worth investing into something like BHEL, because the stock's been moving higher on back of that news?
The problem is it has been an underperformer and it continues to remain an underperformer in the cap goods engineering space. Life beyond 95 or 98 looks extremely difficult, Navneet, on BHEL. And if you're looking at cap goods engineering, then according to me, a mid-cap name like a KC International augurs well. Amongst the frontline names, L&T Limited, ABB, Thermax, I think these are the names that you should go with. And the other problem with BHEL is that they've got a very, very laid-back attitude in terms of executing the order book, and that's a big concern for me now.
Sorry about that. Gaurang, I'm not very certain about this question. Perhaps you can educate me as well. Ankur Sachan on YouTube is talking about Bharat Electronics. He's asking from the election point of view, are you aware of BEL manufacturing voting machines at all? I understand that it's largely in the defense space. Would you recommend a fresh entry though, BEL?
I have no clue, and more importantly, there is a big fight between EVMs and ballot paper. So don't base your investment on whether BEL is manufacturing EVMs. But let me say this, we are positive on BEL, and yes, you are right on the defense foray and the capacity experience, especially in the anti-radar, anti-aircraft and anti-missile radar technology. They are the pioneers. They are also having a platform in terms of sophisticated battlefield logistics kind of platform. We have a target of 185 on BEL from a long-term point of view.
Very quick question, Gaurang, from my side. What do you prefer, EVM or ballot paper?
Navneet, it's a classic example, because when political parties win the election in a particular state, they don't complain about EVMs. But when they lose miserably, they are the ones who complain about EVMs. So, and technology has moved. I think we should move forward. I would definitely prefer EVMs.
Well, whatever it be, there'll always be one party which will be unhappy with the results. On that note, I want to thank all our viewers who've tuned in today and sent us their queries, and also want to thank both our experts, Amar and Gaurang, for joining us and helping our viewers with their queries. Well, that's all that we have on this edition of Ask PQ.
But as always, do remember that we're just a tweet, post or call away, so do keep your queries coming, and we promise to address as many of them as possible on our shows. For the ones that were discussed today, you can log on to the website bloombergquint.com and search for the hashtag AskPQ. On that note, thanks so much for watching. Up next on Bloomberg Quint is Power Lunch.